Mm,
Hello, everybody. That cut off really sudden, didn't
it
it?
did.
How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Tesla Live number 204. Here we are on the, man, what is it? The 6th? No, it's the 2nd. It's the
Of
2nd of
June.
June, 2021. And welcome to the show, everyone. It's glad you can join us this evening for about an hour of your time, and we're going to go through some of the Tesla stories of the week. And as per usual, we have our regular co-hosts. We have Mr. Casey Green joining us from the DC area. How are you today, sir?
Doing pretty well. Some folks might be wondering why I look spiffy today. It's not because I had to go into the office and came home on short notice. No, it's because I was testifying to the U.S. EPA about why they should restore the right for California to set their own emissions regulations, and thus all of the states that have also decided to follow the California emissions regulations.
Wow,
Awesome.
Yes,
you were making a difference today.
I hope so.
Fantastic,
Yes.
fantastic. Also joining us, Mr. Patrick Connor joins us from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
Hello, I'm good. And thanks, Casey, because I'm here in Oregon and we are one of the car gang of 12 or 14 or whatever number it's up to now.
Yeah, Virginia
Yeah.
just joined like at the last minute.
Who did?
Oh, we did. Here in
Oh,
Virginia. Yeah.
nice.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So that makes it very relevant for you to be there. Absolutely cool. And
Yeah.
even if your state wasn't, it's still, we all share the same air eventually.
Yeah, the air doesn't
So,
respect political boundaries.
no, it does not. No. So, hello, everybody out there watching the Tesla Life. I know you're here because you're a fan of a future free from fossil fuels.
Boom.
Enjoy.
Thank you very much, sir. And we've got a ton of news. As nothing surprising there, Tesla never sleeps, and the news just keeps on hitting day after day. So let's start with my favorite place, Giga Berlin. They have recently announced that if you're artistic and would like to help them out, they want you. So they're looking for graffiti type style art to be placed on the outside walls of Giga Berlin. And Tesla is now taking applications for people that could make such giant wall murals to be placed on the exterior surfaces of Giga Berlin. And of course, my only concern with the graffiti art that's going to be placed there is it cannot slow down the pace of construction.
You've got plenty of time. You're months and months ahead of Austin, right?
No, we're not doing any of that at this point. If it slows down even by a minute, we don't want it. We can wait until the plant is up and running and producing cars. After that, okay, we can do whatever we want. But
I will
I'm not going to
say,
have it infringe on my bet with Patrick Connor. That's for sure.
no, I think you should go. If you just go right now and spray paint some stuff, and if the construction guys tell you to stop, they need to work there. Just say no. I'm applying for a job. 9. Ich bin spray painting.
Yeah, that's going to be a popular thing with a number of people. Of course, somebody took it upon themselves to draw that image of Elon smoking a joint on the Joe Rogan show and put that as a big one on the wall as a joke. But they're certainly looking for graffiti type artists to help them with this endeavor. And it'll probably look very cool after they do a number of exterior walls with that. It'll be colorful, it'll be different, and I think it's going to look fantastic once they amass this group of artists to perform this work.
Yeah, some of the examples they gave look really nice. Elon doesn't really seem to ever react whenever they put him with the cloud of smoke and the doobie, and hopefully it appears to the casual observer that this is a planned art installation, so they don't think that they can go tag the building themselves, because that would be unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we shall see. But that was announced this week.
First in chat were David
Cool.
and Hockey Day, of course.
David was first, and
I don't
Hockey
know if
Day
they were.
second.
I don't know if they were at the same time or if, but as it's
They were
presenting on my
close.
screen.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, we'll let them
Last time they
battle
were
it
at the
out,
same
I'm
time.
sure. With that, on to our next story. And who was going to take this? Was that me or Patrick?
I think it's you.
Okay. So what we've got here is that the Model Y and 3, of course, were held up recently, waiting for a software update, which we've talked about previously. In fact, in my neck of the woods here, Kitchener-Waterloo, there was quite a load of Model Ys and 3s that were taking up the parking lot at the Tesla store. In fact, almost every space was filled with new inventory waiting to be delivered. And we couldn't figure out what was going on 3 weeks ago as those cars sat there. But it came down to a software update that they were waiting for. But what also happened is that Tesla had made, I guess, some changes to the software. So that's why the cars weren't delivered immediately. They were waiting for that update to happen. And once the update did happen, then there was a mass release. And people, of course, were called and asked to schedule their delivery times as quickly as possible. And a lot of the inventory flowed out in the next 4 days. And with all these new people receiving their cars, a number of people noticed some additions and some subtractions from what the car has. And just a couple of things noted was that with the Model Y specifically, Tesla in certain areas, and one of those areas is my area in Southern Ontario, they mandated that any Y that was sold, there would be a PPF coating applied to the rear, just after the rear door on both sides, down low, where the metal kind of bubbles out a little bit. This was, of course, an area of concern with sandpapering from road debris. And they decided to apply a PPF coating, which Tesla actually sells in the stores. They were going to apply one to every car. And we actually spoke to someone, a manager on site, and they had indicated that, yes, in fact, every Model 3 that they deliver, the store would be applying that PPF coating to the vehicle first. Also, we heard that Model 3s, some of them in certain areas are getting the mud flap applied to the front wheels. And that, again, is being applied by the stores. So the Northeast, Ontario, Quebec, they're getting this as a standard feature for their cars. And then we also found out something that disappeared. So in Model Ys and 3s, we've noticed now that the passenger side, the seat, the lumbar support control has disappeared. So that the passenger side Model Y and Model 3 now just do not have the ability for the lumbar support. That is still present on the driver's side, but on the passenger side, it has been eliminated. And I guess Elon commented on that through Twitter, indicating that their records indicate that hardly anybody ever touches it. And just they found that it would be a good way to, that there'd be an item they could take away that wouldn't necessarily affect many people. And because of that, some smart people on Twitter replied back to the Tesla community that we all better start using our trunks more often, or they might disappear too. So it's kind of interesting that Tesla has looked at that data and they've indicated that no one was really using it, so they've removed it. Although, there is a question of how often, if you're sitting in that same seat all the time, are you adjusting the lumbar control? Once you set it a certain way, you tend not to move it around every drive that you take. You may move it around every, a couple times a year, but typically it's in the same position. I would say, anyways.
This is one interesting aspect to having a connected car. Tesla can actually collect this data on how many times that knob's ever been touched. And if it's a significantly low number, then they can take it out, save costs, save weight, and remove a feature that almost no one was using anyway. So that's an interesting twist that where in the past, if you would have asked people if they wanted that, a lot of them would have said yes. And then they would have probably never used it, but that doesn't mean they would have said they don't want it.
Yeah, you'd probably be hard pressed to find someone that would turn around and say, "No, I don't want that. That's fine. I would just use the driver's side one. Passenger side doesn't mean anything to me." Most people go along the fact of, I don't want anything taken away from the package that I think is there.
Right. In today's software update video, we're going to deep dive. We're going to touch every button in this car so that Elon doesn't know what we use and don't use.
Please, I want to keep this, and I want to keep that. And I want to...
Right?
That's funny.
So I spoke with a bunch of people who didn't even know that the driver's side had lumbar support. And somebody who came from Mercedes pointed out that on the Mercedes, it's a little more obvious what's there. On the Tesla, if you're not looking at the seat side with the door open, it's not clear that there is lumbar support there unless you're feeling around the whole side of the seat. And on the Model X I have, you can adjust the height of the headrest using the same control. So sometimes you move the lumbar on accident when you're trying to move the headrest. But on the new Model X's, they just have Model Y seats, so you don't really actually get a movable headrest anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was surprised when I first saw it. It was a little disappointing, actually. But that was the same excuse they used when they pulled HomeLink out of the car. Oh, nobody's using this. Our telemetry says you don't use it, so we're deleting it. I don't see them adding this back as an option at the store, but
no, you'll have to order a driver's seat from Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll
be the trick.
It's a shame. I think that some of these things are being taken away. Is it because of the telemetry that they've collected, the information that is not being used? Is that really the reason? Is it a cost-saving thing? Is it a part possible shortage in a certain area? We heard that BMW is actually indicated that they're having a part shortage for the lumbar seat control in their vehicles.
They give you a discount for it. Amazingly.
But they reduced the price of the vehicle too.
Yeah.
So there is a couple of things here that, altogether they don't make sense. They're little pieces of information, but most likely this could be a cost-cutting feature, I would say, just looking from the outside in, thinking that we know that raw materials have gone up dramatically across the board for all industries, and maybe this is just a way to shave off a few dollars where they can. But I don't know. It's I'd be on the camp that I wouldn't want it removed. But to be honest, I'm not using it all that much in the passenger seat myself. But again, I'd be in that camp that probably wouldn't want it removed if it was asked.
But if it were a $500 option and you were buying a car today, would you add it?
Probably not.
I would probably be in that cost savings camp as well. I mean, they're taking off a lot of stuff that they say that people don't want or need, and it seems to be jiving with everybody else's trouble to get parts. I don't know why it's so hard for them to say, "Hey, we're also having trouble getting these parts," but everything seems to line up with it. David mentions that on his Model Y or on a Model Y, his wife would probably appreciate the on road trips would appreciate that support. So as Mark mentioned, it's probably not something you adjust all that much. Once it's in the right place, if it's the same passengers, they're not going to need to move it around.
Right, and
even if it's a passenger that doesn't get there often, like if you're giving a ride to a friend, they typically don't fool with the seat controls on the one trip all that much, anyways.
Just the distance from the dash. That's the only one they ever touch.
I don't see that it's ever touched that much for a guest that's in the vehicle. So another another note towards it doesn't really change all that often. So indicating that it's never moved or hardly ever moved, I don't think is a great argument for removing it.
I mean, he's already said, thank you to all the suppliers for blah, blah, blah. And then immediately the entire fleet went out of stock for weeks. So was it thank you, hey, we just finally got a shipment on the way? Or was it, hey, thank you, and then other stuff was out of stock? Who knows? But it just seems like a failure to admit that, hey, just like everybody else, we're having trouble getting parts. Stand by. We'll
Yeah,
take
and
care
I
of
don't, like I said, I don't think that's that's a downfall of Tesla.
Right,
Like
yeah.
it's affecting everybody and everything at this point. Is it? I don't know why
pride?
they can't say something about that. But
I mean, yeah.
to
There's
this point, like he did mention in the last quarter that it has affected them and it could
Yeah.
affect them in quarter 2 and 3.
Right.
So not a surprise. Not a surprise.
I mean, I can see it trashing the stock for a week, but I mean, he doesn't really seem to care what happens to the stock from week to week.
No, he's not like he's there protecting the stock with kid glove hands. Like that's never been his way. So I can't see that being the problem. But
yeah, we'll find out eventually.
Speaking of the stock, $605.12.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, over 600 still.
With that, Patrick's got a story about driver monitoring.
That's right. Yes. So, as with all things, there's somebody out there who's going to ruin it for all of us. And in this case, it was I'll sit in the back seat and kick the steering wheel every once in a while.
Backseat bandits.
Yeah. So people have been abusing the driver monitoring system that Tesla has with the steering wheel torque through defeat devices and other stupidity. So Tesla has an interior, the selfie camera, as it's called, and now they are enabling that. So if you have software version 21.4.15.11 or later, then your selfie camera is now on. And it can detect driver attentiveness while autopilot is engaged. And people have confirmed that the data never leaves the car. It does this analysis locally and responds in the car. And there's no video of you driving down the road singing at the top of your lungs that's going out on the,
Not yet.
The karaoke channel of.
As long as you have disabled the share the camera data with Tesla checkbox. But it's not on by default, so just double check it when you're turning stuff on.
Yes, yeah. If you want to share that, I think we could start our own Tesla selfie cam channel, and that would be cool. But yeah, it has several different things that it can detect if you're using your phone, or if your eyes are down, or your head is down, your eyes are closed. It has a bunch of different settings, and it's all part of them looking at you and inferring behavior based on what they're perceiving, and to make sure that you are being attentive. And that's what we encourage you to do. This is a level 2 system, which means you are the responsible person behind the wheel. And until it's level 4 or 5, that will not change. And so now it's going to do a little monitoring of you. I am generally opposed to this kind of technology because I'm a responsible driver. I don't want a nanny. But as I said earlier, there are people who've ruined this for all of us. And so I completely understand why Tesla had to enable this. People were being irresponsible, and that was getting them a lot of negative press. And, it's all fun and games until you crash into a school bus and kill a group of children. That's just horrible, and none of us want that. So they're doing what they have to keep it a safe system.
Because we've already proven we can't have nice things.
Exactly.
On the whole.
Thanks.
And I'm sorry to say, but that's not surprising. Like it's just the more and more people that you bring to ownership, the more and more chance this was going to happen at some point.
It was almost inevitable.
Because not everyone can be responsible. That's just the way it is. Like we as a society We've gotten ahead pretty good to this point, but along the way, there's been a lot of stumbles and falls, and it's because people cannot all be responsible. They, they have their own interests at heart, and sometimes it conflicts with where we need to be as a society. But this is one of those cases where somebody was looking for fame over safety, and that's they were happy to risk themselves and whoever was around them, and it could have been horrible, and it had to be stopped.
Right. So if you're worried about this, you can. There are several aftermarket covers you can put over your camera, or you can just put a Post-it note over that. And if you do, autopilot's not going to work. But there's the decision you made about making sure that you're not being viewed in your car versus using that feature.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something if you've paid for the service and you are opposed tremendously to being videotaped in your own car? Then you're right. If you block it, it's not going to work.
Right.
So Green the Only and a couple people with these vision-only cars have gone through and done tests to determine what happens if you cover the camera. Right now, it just behaves as if there was no camera installed in the first place. And then they went ahead to see what the car does with the camera active and functioning properly. Right now, if you are appearing to be messing with your phone and there's cars around, it will give you more frequent requests to touch the wheel, and that's it at the moment. So it's probably going to start checking for more scenarios, and the ultimate hope, nobody outside Tesla has said this, but the ultimate hope by a lot of people is that if you have the camera and it's active and working correctly, is that if you're being good, you'll get less prompts to touch the wheel rather than right now where it's the same, or except when you're being bad in a situation with cars around you where you get more prompts. So
that would certainly be a plus if
it'd be worth
the
it.
Positive can come from that.
Yeah, and it makes sense that they're turning it on to fix the negative issue. So that's where they're going to focus first. But once they get that resolved, you're right, Casey, it would be so cool if that meant that autopilot could make it I almost said more hands off, but that's not. I don't mean hands off. I just mean
just less annoying.
Yes, yeah. Because that little white bar that lights up that says you have to torque the steering wheel. If you torque it too much, you can actually turn it off unintentionally. And so I usually just flip the volume. Because that's an easy way to let it know your hand is there without torquing the wheel. So there's a pro tip for you. If you don't want to torque the wheel, there's another option.
Yeah, you can do the autopilot stock or the volume wheel or anything with the sound system. But the fun ones are where they forget to put that connection back in some of the firmware. It doesn't happen too often, but you're sitting there scrolling the volume up and down and nothing's happening.
No, I haven't had that.
Yeah. For me, I usually, depending on what audio system I'm listening to, if I'm on the Tesla audio, I just hit the song back because even though I'm paying for the audio, it doesn't believe me and thinks I'm on the free plan, so it doesn't go back. But on Spotify, it knows, and on podcasts, it will rewind. So I got to remember what I'm listening to if I want to use the back button.
Hopefully there's a 30-second skip that you can just do, and it'll time out just perfectly.
Right? Forward 1, back 3.
Speaking of back, let's talk a little bit about some previous shows that we have been on. And Casey's got a story that we've discussed several times, and this has turned out a little bit different than what we expected.
So some of you might remember all of us constantly trying to figure out and understand why Tesla was going to Texas when it was illegal to sell and service cars in Texas for Tesla. And we assumed that, well, this is a smart company full of smart people, and surely something must be already taken care of since the session was out of session and they would be coming back and they would take care of it, right? Instead of focusing on a multi-billion-dollar company that they had enticed to come to their state over Oklahoma, they focused on women's health and guns and voting rights, or removing voting rights. And they completely, yet again, for the third session in a row, left Tesla off the docket. So we're now talking about 6 years of Tesla trying to get on the docket and completely being dropped every single time. And so in order to get around that, Tesla now has to ship their vehicles that they want to deliver from the Gigafactory in Texas, or Terra, Texas, as I call it, back into Texas. If they want to deliver them there, they have to leave the state and then come back. So I did a show on Sunday, and Anders did the math, and it seems that it's going to be closest for them to go to Mexico, and another 40
Oh,
miles.
really?
Yeah, another 40 miles for them to go to Louisiana and then turn around. We decided that probably Louisiana would be better because you don't have to deal with customs or border crossings. But I'm hoping that it was just that much cheaper to build cars in Texas than whatever Oklahoma was offering them, because Tulsa sounded like a sweet deal. And I'm also hoping that that perhaps all the cars built in Texas are just export only, and maybe that pilot plant that's building Cybertrucks will be making just the Texas
I have an
Cybertrucks.
idea that would really put some sand in Texas's face.
Go ahead.
Why don't they purchase a property just on the other side of the Oklahoma border?
Yeah.
And they drive the trucks and right to Oklahoma, and then they sell them from Oklahoma and don't even sell them from Texas. And Oklahoma can collect the sales tax.
Unfortunately, in the U.S., every state gets their sales tax money, even if they've made selling the vehicle itself illegal, which I think is stupid, because if it's not legal, then how are you going to tax it, right? But they found a way, which is just infuriating.
This is really amazing. It really is.
Yes.
I saw Elon's reply to this through Twitter, and he was basically saying, I hope they can change this. I hope Texas can change this. And I'm like, wow.
It's going to take 2 years to find out.
Yeah.
And that's if they don't get left off again.
Yeah. It's the session only happens every 2 years. And it's not for a long period of time. It's only like a 4 week or 5 week period. And they get to pick and choose what's on the docket.
Yes, and each time there was a chance that they could have been.
They've skipped over issues that need to be handled.
Yes.
And this year is no, it's shocking that Texas has lured in Tesla with a plant and all those jobs and all that money and all those suppliers, and they couldn't handle this.
Yeah. And just like they said the previous 3 times, there's always a chance of a special session. Except that like I said, the last 2 times that didn't happen. It's not like that happened this time. And now the only talk of special session they're having right now is to call them back to make it harder to vote in Texas. So we're looking at 2023 before there's even a chance.
Really, the only way to get this resolved apparently is to have the governor get involved directly.
But he's more interested in making it hard to vote. He said so.
And it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just it's really, really disappointing. Texas is disappointing that they've done this after what's been given to them, that they're acting in this way.
Yeah. Well, hopefully his whole thing about next time we build a factory, Tulsa will be at the top of the list. Maybe that's true, and then this would really show them if the speed they build these factories. That would be quite like you said, a little bit of spite for Texas there. But it doesn't look like they'll need another factory anytime soon.
The way that I hope this plays out is that when Cybertrucks start being delivered, that a lot of people in Texas buying them are like, I have to do what? It has to come from where? I have to register.
I have to go where? Personally?
or yeah. I think actually making the users, buyers, the Texas citizens, residents feel the pain of this is going to make them say, oh no, no way, this is ridiculous. And then when the populace is yelling at their representatives in the state and their governor, then we'll see some action. Right now, we all know this is going to be a problem, but the average buyer is not even worried about it at this point. They're just waiting until they get their vehicle, and then they're going to be like, this is ridiculous and dumb, and they'll wake up to it.
Yeah,
And let's be clear on this. This is only going to affect Texas residents.
right,
The rest of us outside
we're
of
fine.
Texas are going to receive the vehicles just as normal.
Yes,
No difference.
exactly.
Well, there are
And
still some states where you can't buy direct, right?
right, and they have the
Right.
same situation, but it's extra bad here because they're being built in
Yeah.
the state, and you can't buy them in the state where they were built, which
Right.
is mind-boggling.
That's
And
politics for
depending
you.
on the interpretation of how you read the law, the customer actually has to leave the state to buy it and then bring it back and then pay their Texas taxes when they register it. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, you're looking at a 440 or 480-mile trip, depending on if you go to Louisiana
Oh
or
man.
Mexico. Yeah.
So it's like the transport driver will say, "Well, I got 8 cars on here, so I got to go around and pick up 8 citizens, and then we're all going out together to cross the border."
Yeah. There might
And
be a job there of a Cybertruck buyer where you go and buy it and then you
Cybertruck
resell it.
Coyote.
Yeah, it's
I-
perfectly legal. You buy it and then you sell it used.
Yeah, I do want to also point out and thank John Volker for pointing all of that out to all of us in the community. Uh, he does good work.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he
John
does.
Volker's a good guy.
Next, Patrick's got a story about Tesla Vision.
Yeah, good
That's
news.
right. Yes. Tesla Vision. Well, depending on who you talk to, it's good or bad news.
It's
So, as we all know, Tesla is trying to work on full autonomy. And as part of that, most of the industry is going with LiDAR. Tesla said, no way. We can do this with vision and radar and sonar, and we don't need LiDAR. And they were able to show that their distance estimates with the camera are as good, if not better, than LiDAR. So that was step one. Now they've removed the radar. And if you go back and you look at they've been talking about how great radar is in the past, how it's occlusion penetrating, so it can see through rain, and how it can bounce under cars and see the vehicle in front. And so why, if it has all these advantages, would they be removing it? Well, the reason they're removing it is, as Musk put it, the signal to noise ratio is better without it. So now at this point, their vision system has gotten so much better than with radar. You're spraying it all over the place, and you don't get back a precise image like you do with a vision system. So it's always about being able to interpret the data to know what's going on with as little guesswork as possible. And so the engineers that are working on this every day, all the time, have made the determination that it is a better system without radar. And so it's now been removed. Well, everybody in the world seems to have an opinion about this, even people who don't know anything about vision systems, neural nets, radar, or vision systems, anything, saying, how could Tesla have done this? And it's because they're the ones with the data. They're the ones that are looking at how to best get to their goal. And this was the right move for that. But that doesn't stop all the chatter out there about how this has been not a great move. And one thing that made it even worse is that NHTSA had removed some of the check marks for safety systems. And that's because this needs to be retested with their new system. When you make a hardware change like this, it has to be retested. Well, that as soon as those check marks were removed, a whole lot of the media started saying Tesla has removed safety from their cars, which is not true. They still have automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning. All of the safety features are still there. But it was widely misreported, as a lot of things with Tesla are, that people jump the gun, want to put up a salacious headline, want to get the clicks. And this was yet another case of that FUD going crazy. And so there are some limitations right now with auto steer and auto summon. And those will, of course, be restored when they get the things, when they get that reworking without the radar. But anyway, there's my opinion on it. There's what's really happening as far as I think, and that make sure that some of the stuff you see in Consumer Reports and other places is just wrong or overly opinionated from some of the same folks that showed you how to defeat the Tesla's system. same geniuses now posting this stuff about how anyway, that's it. That's my rant.
It is, it's another thing where they're taking a leap forward and having to take a half step back. It's something that they feel that is going to be the ultimate solution for them. They felt that radar was going to hold them back at some point. Whether or not this was the right exact time to do it, it's like Patrick said, they're the ones with the data. They're the ones that are trying to make it full self-drive, and therefore they believe that this is the path forward to get to that end goal. So we'll have to trust them at this point and see if they can pull this off. Certainly, some people are going to be inconvenienced a little bit with some software items not being available that were previously available, but they say they're going to be adding those as we go along. So we'll have to see if that is the case. It has been the case in the past with other things, but in this particular instance, if you have something and you take even something partially away, like the lumbar support, you're going to get people that are going to complain. Like, that's all there is to it. But this is an interesting way of getting to their goal. They have to, and we know that Elon and the engineers have been pushing hard on the full self-drive. That is their ultimate goal, and they're trying to get there as quickly as possible. They believe that the radar removal is part of this process, and therefore that's what they're going to do, because their ultimate goal is to get these cars to be autonomous.
I think what a lot of people are hanging on to is Elon's previous statements about how the car would look 2 cars ahead, which it did and could do, as well as how it would stop for an invisible alien spaceship landing on the freeway. It would stop anyway. It would stop if it was something that had a radar signature. It would definitely stop. But if it didn't, it would stop for the first car that hit it, and not the car in front of you. But it appears that they were having trouble with the code to detect if it's a bridge, an overpass, semi-truck that's in the way across all lanes of traffic, and
noise from the radar signal. And for a while, you're going to be getting data from both, and you're going to have to take the safest course from either. Well, now if you're getting great data from vision and you're getting this signal that you just can't trust from radar, why do you even have it? It just doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, and from what I've seen from the videos that Green has pulled out of his system, the system has gotten a lot better. Like, it'll see just a fraction of a vehicle and be like, oh, that's a semi-truck, or oh, there's a Tesla. And not only a Tesla, but hey, it's a Model S blue. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. And it seems that they were going to do this anyway, but the part that feels weird about it is it feels forced in the way that maybe they were out of radar units, because when you look at where they've applied it is only Model 3 and Model Y in the US, whereas every Model S and X and then all the rest of the world vehicles still have their radar units. But they were going to go here anyway. The only part that feels weird about it is that they didn't just say, hey, we've solved it. They said, hey, this is coming, and then they sat on it for a couple weeks, and then the cars came out with these restrictions. The restrictions aren't new either, because when AP1 came out, AP2 came out, AP 2.5, and Hardware 3 came out, each time those vehicles came out, they were less capable than the car that came before them. In the case of AP2, it took over a year to get back to feature parity with AP1, but all the basics were there within a month or two. And every other car, the other versions, they came back within a month or two. So it's just growing pains. We're going to look back at this and we're going to say, oh yeah, we didn't have the ability to go faster than 75 miles an hour for 3 weeks on the new cars, but it's a minor pain point.
Right.
Yep. With that, on to the next story.
Fun stuff.
Model S. And guess what's happened, guys? It was supposed to be July the 3rd, June 3rd. Well,
2 weeks.
We got pushed back another week. So we're looking at the 10th now for release. Elon had put in a tweet that they needed another week of modifications, and they were going to take that week. A week to tweak, exactly.
Yeah.
And the photographs out there of parking lots and spill off areas being filled with Model S's continue to build. In fact, they've spotted an area with over 1,000 of them apparently parked close to Fremont. So we've got they're still manufacturing them. They're just heading to storage areas until they're done with the tweaks.
Yes.
So it is what it is. It's you wouldn't want to release it to a bunch of clients and then figure out that, oh, we got to call them all back in to make a modification, or we need a hardware tweak. You wouldn't want that. So I got to believe that they're doing the right thing, that let people wait a little bit longer and get the car so they can use it. And then, of course, only push out over-the-air updates if things have to be changed. Make sure the hardware is perfect.
That we will. And before anybody asks, we will probably cover the live stream and do commentary on it, either here
if there
or
is one.
If there is one, but it looks like
it definitely will have one.
Yeah, it looks like Elon was wanting there to be one, so it'll either be here or over at my channel, and we will take care of you.
There's also rumors that along with this event, there's going to be a few other nuggets thrown in for good measure. And I've heard through a couple of different groups that they believe that version, I guess would be version 4 supercharger.
Yeah, maybe.
They believe that that could be a notification of a 350 kilowatt over a 250. So that's a rumor. Don't know if it's true or not, but there are a few different groups out there that believe that that will be announced with the event as well.
Oh, well, if we're going to start rumors, let's start one that they're going to have a flying roadster there.
They might, actually.
That is for another event, though.
So David G says that we won't get a drink much without Russell. And Trent says that the new guy at work had never heard of Tesla. Most humans have no idea.
Wow.
Indeed.
I live in such a bubble, I can't imagine that. It's like, what? It's like,
haven't heard of them, man.
Yeah.
That is out there.
Yeah.
Although the three of us, we're so deep, we don't know how deep we are.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know I live in water.
We're the opposite end of that spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. David suggests perhaps maybe we'll see the finished version of the Cybertruck. That would be cool. Mm-hmm. My speculation regarding that is that all the wider spaces that we see for the Cybertruck is that they'll actually be 500 kilowatt charging spaces. That's my personal speculation.
That is good. Yeah, that would make sense. They have to keep pushing it as the vehicle ranges get longer. The charging power has to boost up.
Yes, to keep the sessions the same length. I also think it would be cool if the Cybertruck can use the mega chargers, like the regular ones, not the V3s have been split up, but to like if you've got a trailer, that way you don't have to mess with the regular stations because a lot of them can't be reconfigured for towing. But if you can go through the mega charger with your Cybertruck and just pull through like the semi trucks do, and they have stricter idle fees. That way, you're not blocking somebody who's got 80 tons of stuff to move with your camper, and you're not moving it. So that would get you out of the way when you're done.
Yep, that's a possibility too. Although you're right, those charges would have to be big because those trucks lose hundreds of dollars just waiting, doing nothing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You don't want them waiting behind a Cybertruck.
Especially if they plan to use their mandatory break to charge the truck and go shower or whatever, and then now you've made them waste it.
Yeah, that would be big trouble. Another quick story. Fremont apparently has started to do some of the Model Y front castings. So we reported this last week, right, Casey? Where we were talking about Giga Texas, or Terra Texas, as Casey likes to call it, where we've got a number of castings that were just piled outside of the partially completed factory. So now, of course, with the swarm of drones that are everywhere, have spotted over Fremont that there are definitely a number of front casting in place for Model Y that they're piling outside the Fremont factory. So, which is good news, because now we're looking at as the Y starts to be produced in Texas, the Y that's being made in Fremont most likely will be the exact same flavor. So we won't have to worry about somebody getting what they feel is a Fremont Y compared to a Texas Y. They will be hopefully all the same, no matter where it's produced.
And then there was allegations that these were just more rear castings. But looking at the shots, they do appear to be two different castings. I don't know if it's one's flipped over and flipped upside down, but they look different when you look at the pictures. So I don't know who's wrong, but just throwing that out there for completeness. But I am excited that if this is what it is, then that means that all that's missing now is the structural pack. And as we've said in the past, you can make a 2160 structural package, as Sandy Monroe showed us. You're just bonding the cells in the correct format. So,
well, let's just share a photo so people can take a look themselves.
So if you zoom in, you see that they look different to me. They don't look like they're the same thing.
Yeah, these ones definitely look like different ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But are these ones over here flipped over differently?
I mean, that's also a possibility, but it looks like even if you flip it, they don't look exactly alike. I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below or in the live chat.
Yeah, if they just installed the GigaPress, maybe some of them are just test castings to make sure they can do the injections, or I don't know. Maybe they're not actually production; they were test.
Interesting that some are in racks and some are not in racks too.
Yeah, just throw those on the ground over there.
Yeah, I don't like using the racks. It takes too much time.
That's right. Forklift drivers on lunch break. Just
well, speaking of lunch break, that's a good segue. Patrick, what do you got for us next?
Oh yeah, someplace where you might be able to go have lunch. Who wants a ludicrous burger or an insane shake? Or
I'd like an insane, impossible shake.
That's right. Yeah. So Tesla.
Fremont fries.
Oh, there you go. Yes. I'm trying to come up with something.
Also, turkey sandwich.
Nura noodles. Okay. So Tesla.
Boring salad.
The boring salad. Yes, that's a good one. Tesla has applied for a new trademark, and with it, well, they've already got trademarks, and this is the Tesla T and the Tesla in the really cool Tesla font. So it's the same trademarks. So why would they need to apply again? Well, because this time it's for the restaurant industry. What the what? And as you know, Musk has tweeted about having a 50 styles rock and roll drive-in diner. And it looks like they are slowly making progress in this area. And it's not just, it looks like it's actually going to happen. And this is one of the first steps they have to do that. And they already have some little cafes and coffee shops at Kettleman City, for example. And so they could take that to the next level. And we might see something in Santa Monica or somewhere else where you can get some of these cool Tesla products that we've just been joking about.
So they're apparently they've registered the Tesla logo along with food service, right? So there's dine in, there's takeout, there's quick serve, and one other that they've attached to all restaurant type trademark registrations.
Right. They could even have a food truck.
Food truck, right. That was the fourth one. Yeah.
Now that would be cool if they had a food truck that was Tesla branded that traveled around from supercharger to supercharger.
Yeah, but they've gotten so fast at the charging. I don't know that they can.
That's why they need a food truck right beside the fast chargers.
That part would work, because what I'm finding is when I go to some of the new V3 superchargers, the car is done before my food is ready, and it's fine, except that when you're also under threat of, hey, high usage supercharger station, we're gonna charge you $1 a minute for standing around.
Just get on your app and crank up the AC so you drain your battery.
Roll down the windows and crank the heat on high, because we know heat uses more energy.
So with the snake charger and full self drive or summon, they could take care of that. But
oh yeah, they need the charge snaky snake.
Yeah.
So the Tesla burger is on the way, apparently. So we will have to see. And Elon, of course, has mentioned a few times about that first restaurant location going to happen somewhere in Santa Monica, is what he has mentioned a couple times previously. Yeah. Different years. Most recently, just 2 months ago, when Santa Monica was having the issue with the zoning for a new Tesla supercharger they were wanting to put in. So he got on Twitter and personally thanked Santa Monica and talked about the restaurant in the same tweet.
Right. Yeah. Have a boring salad, super heavy shake.
I love the boring salad.
Super heavy shake. That's I like great.
It. That's great. Well, with that other boring news, Tesla's
that's some boring news for you.
For us, for some more boring news.
I'm going to read you. Well, actually, I'm going to read it and put it on the screen because it's funny to me. Share this tab. The naysayers can suck it. Elon's holes are amazing, and being in them was exhilarating. Kudos to the LVCVA. Bonus, gull wings.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
They're going to get a few more Twitter followers if they have that kind of fun.
Yes, it's perfect Twitter humor. And so we've seen folks going in and participating in the test of the shakedown of the boring tunnel in Las Vegas. And including in that, we saw that they actually were able to not just meet the contract requirement for 4,400 passengers per hour, but they took 300 people into the tunnels, and they were able to achieve a rate over 4,400 people per hour. So when you consider that adding more stations only adds more capacity, they are ready to go. And a lot of folks were still complaining, oh, what you've just reinvented the subway. And then that's what I liked about the videos, is they showed that you could bypass stations. And so you're not stuck. Like if somebody comes behind you, or in front of you rather, and stops in a subway, even if you're on a different train, if that train is stopped, you can't go around it. But with this, they don't stop on the track. So you can keep on going. You can go from point to point. So if you're on stop 23 and you want to go to stop 7, you can just do that. You don't have to go back all the way through the circle.
Right.
I mean, you have to go through the loop, but you don't have to go through every stop.
So my day job a long time ago for a decade was a network engineer. So I worked in traffic congestion control quite a bit, and the difference between a shared network and a switched network. And I think I'm going to do a blog post on that, because it's a different way to think about how these things move. That just doesn't apply to trains or subways. This has a technological advantage that I don't think most people understand. They assume it's tunnels, and therefore it's like these other tunnel things. They're reasoning by analogy and not first principles, ground up thinking, because they just don't have they haven't seen something like that before. So why would they assume it's like something new? They would assume it's like something they're already familiar with.
And then they don't understand that these tunnels are already cheaper to go by themselves because they're so much smaller. But not only is the tunnel cheaper, the train, these cars are a lot cheaper than a train. So
yeah, exactly.
And don't even forget putting the rails in the tunnel. So we're talking billions a mile versus millions a mile. And then, how much is a Model 3? As low as $35,000, but it's the same company building them basically as they're using them. I know there's a little bit of a firewall there, but not much. And so they could probably get them pretty near cost, and especially if they go used. And so that is a lot cheaper than a train, even a used train.
Right.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting. They were saying that there's a number of videos that you can follow and watch, actually, if you just connect to our Twitter feed at the Tesla Life. And also, if you're following that, you may as well follow us on Facebook, the Tesla Life #1. But in those videos, it's actually showing people taking the run, the stations, the unloading, the loading. And what I found interesting is the tunnels in this event were all colored.
Yeah.
So they had different colors running in the tunnels. But the drivers of these cars were giving off information. And one of the drivers indicated that during normal operation, the tunnels would always be white. They would never change color. They would only be for special events, for when it's rented for a party, or if it's some special after hours event, is what they had indicated.
Yeah.
So the rave is coming.
Yeah.
It may happen in Las Vegas long before Berlin.
for sure. And then another point that some folks seem to get stuck on is like, well, what about loading? Well, they're saying, what if I get stuck behind somebody with 1 million bags or whatever? You're not loading on the track. You're loading off the track,
Right.
and then you get on the track. And they say, well, what if 3 cars want to go at the same time? Like, well, the cars can talk to each other. They don't even have to talk to each other. Like, it could literally right of way. If you're in the right of way, you just keep going.
1, 2, 3.
Exactly. And if they do talk to each other, and car A is on the track and says, I'll be there in 3 seconds, and car B is just closed up and is ready to go and says, I'm leaving in 3 seconds, then it'll just say, hey, I'll hold on a minute. You're coming through at a much faster pace than me. And they'll leave it 4 seconds instead of 3. Yeah.
Yeah, so great that it's open. And again, there is a big convention happening in June. I believe it's this weekend it starts. So
Yes.
We'll have to see if we get some more reports from it going live.
So.
And with that, on to our last story. This is kind of a note about Berlin, my favorite place lately. And Giga Berlin has spurred some serious problems where people are saying their water use is going to go up because Tesla is now, of course, building a battery facility in Giga Berlin. And once Tesla submitted the plans to the local authorities, look at that. They're not using any more water for the new battery installation building. And the reason for that, most likely, it's because it's the new Tesla Dry Electrode that we saw debuted at Battery Day, where they're not using a gelled formula. The actual formula is created with dry mix as opposed to waters that have to be, of course, dried and use more energy and, of course, water at the beginning. But apparently, with the new build of this building at Giga Berlin, they will not be required to use any more water than what they've already signed up for and have agreed to with local authorities. So not going to stop for that. Now, I can't say there's not going to be another ant colony that has to be moved, but at least with the water is set and agreed to already and is not going to change with the new installation of a brand new building that will produce the 4680 batteries.
Hopefully the cardboard forest arsonists don't learn how to properly arson.
Well, after the protesters started to burn the cardboard forest down, as with the power cables, I can't see they have a leg to stand on. No, they're not the same people. I know, but just kind of ridiculous in some cases.
They were related. Their whole argument before they burnt down the power lines and surrounding area was, oh, they're not as green as they say they are. Well, you're not one to talk. You're no saint.
Yeah,
you're using fire to do your work. Come on now.
Probably drove there an internal combustion engine. Just
yes,
to light a
probably
fire
nice German
while you're saying, be green. No hypocrisy there at all.
If they came on bicycles, I'll give them a small pass on that. I doubt it.
Oh man.
Well,
with that, I think we'll wrap up. Casey, any shout outs, any new videos coming out this week?
Yes, I just received a shipment yesterday, and I'll be shooting a video on it shortly, and then we'll see what becomes of that. And then I've still got some long drives that I've got, some nice scenic drives of 2021.4.15 something. And then I've got my video. I finally got a chance to drive in the rain on 2021.4.18, and so now I'm able to finally close up the video. And at some point that should happen. And I've got about 6 videos coming for you guys now. So check that out at youtube.com/Casey Green. That's KACEYGREEN.
There it is.
He
right
just
there.
grabs his name.
Yeah.
I can't reach it. Oh, wait, wrong side. Oh, there we go.
Patrick, any shout-outs this evening?
Yeah. So I'd like to point out how Mark started the show with this great story about Berlin art, and then ends it with this great story about dry electrodes in Berlin. Bookends it with these awesome, and in the middle is Texas. If you're in Texas, you just can't get your car. You're gonna have to go out of state, and this isn't gonna help you win. This isn't gonna help you win at all, Mark. I'm still gonna win. Austin is gonna be there first, even if it's by way of Louisiana or Mexico.
Right.
Oh man. Oh, if Patrick wins this bet, I don't know what I'll do. I had a 3-month head start. I cannot believe that it's getting this close as we get down to the wire.
Well, we all know I'm going to win. Look at Shanghai.
Yes, we all know that. No one disputes that case.
No one disputes that Shanghai 12 is going to be done long before Berlin or Texas. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll do my
With
normal
that,
shout-out.
if you haven't already, please.
I'm going to do my normal shout-outs. That was just a nice little... okay, we're on time. I'm going to hurry. I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeba.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net. My latest one is all about how, even though I've had solar since 2007, I've never had a negative electricity bill until I got a Powerwall, and how that enabled it. There you go.
Nice.
Very good. And Patrick is not keeping those electron in plastic bags packed in his garage. He is not doing that. Guaranteed.
Keep them in plastic boxes.
If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on this video. Press the subscribe button. It helps us out. It's free, and you're helping us out. Support the channel that way, please. And with that, we'll roll the music. We'll thank Lee Moon for providing that music, and we'll all see you next week and find out what's going on in the Tesla life. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Stay positive, test negative.
The camera keeps moving with Casey.